What the fuck is up, everybody? What the fuck is up, everybody? Let me tell you guys what. I have a good... Thank you so much, Janar. I appreciate you. Guys, what is this fucking laziness in the chat? We're on YouTube. Give me those fucking sun gorillas. Give me those goddamn sun gorillas. We're back on YouTube after a week of getting banned. If you're wondering where I am, you're wondering where I was all this time. Thank you so much, Janar. I appreciate you, brother. You guys are wondering where I was all this time. Thank you, baby. Appreciate it. If you're wondering where I was all this time, let's get this bit out of frame. We don't want to get people hungry. If you guys wondering where I was, I've been banned from YouTube. I've been banned for about a week, and I'm going to tell you the story of that, what we're going to do to go forward to kind of circumvent or prevent that in the future, and how things are going to have to be going forward, right? So let me just tell you, thank you so much, Crack Deal. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Let me tell you guys what. It hasn't been good. I'm telling you. This is the second time YouTube has done this to me. And thank you so much, Crack Dealer. I appreciate you, brother. If you want an idea of what's been going on, I will just show you what YouTube has said, okay? I will just show you exactly what YouTube said. So, about a week ago, YouTube banned me and put a strike on my channel. Now, if you don't know YouTube's rules, it's a 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing, right? So strikes are a big fucking deal, especially because it's really unpredictable as far as YouTube is concerned when they're actually going to decide to issue these strikes or whatever. I mean, Jackson was demonetized and he almost got fully banned from YouTube, right? So it's an extremely unpredictable thing. So this was April 22nd, which was more than a week ago, by the way. And they issued me a strike for the second time. And I knew it was falsely flagged by their system. And I wasn't willing to wait because if you can believe it, the last time I got a strike from YouTube, I'm not sure if you guys remember, it was around January, I believe, or December. And after it expired, YouTube issued me an email saying that the strike was an error and it was actually mistaken on their part. So I suspected that this video that they flagged, which was not hateful at all, it was just about George Soros. Again, you can watch the video, it's up right now. There's no hate speech on it whatsoever. I suspected this was another erroneous strike on YouTube's part. So I kind of told them, listen, look into this. My appeal was, by the way, I appealed it, and my appeal was rejected immediately, okay? My appeal was rejected immediately, if you can believe it. So here's the proof that they reversed it. Following up, this was a mistake, and during the review process, and your video's back up, the strike will be removed from your channel too. We're so sorry this happened and appreciate your patience while we work to fix it. Okay, so here's a few problems with that, right? They did apologize to me, but that was nearly a week that I had no access to YouTube whatsoever. I had no access to tell my followers on YouTube that I was banned. I had no way of reaching anyone about that. I'm already like shadow banned on the algorithm. All of my shit is already totally deboosted. That's funny. Thank you, Ron Swanson Stalinist, for the Kick subscription. The Kick alerts are not off, I guess. So this is pretty incredible, right? I don't get any compensation for the money lost or the time lost not being able to stream. And it actually does hurt my channel. It hurts my ability to grow, hurts my ability to get an audience, and it hurts me monetarily because YouTube has been the primary source of income for me for the longest time. And YouTube is a horrible platform, make no mistake about it, okay? And the only reason I haven't fully switched over to Rumble and to Kick is for 2 reasons. One, I already have a pretty sizable following on YouTube who doesn't want to go over to other platforms. And then the second reason, this is the most important reason, and it's why I'm making this video, a huge chunk of my audience are not actually people who watch the stream live. They're people who watch the VODs and not even watch the VODs, they just listen to them in a podcast style way. I actually know multiple people in real life who absorb and digest infrared content in this way. They just need something to listen to while they're at work, while they're in the car, while they're taking a trip, while they're trying to pass time, you know, and it's not really always people who have the time to watch the live streams. And those people are hard workers. They work hard. They have day jobs, you know. A big chunk of my audience are actual proletarians, if you can believe it. Actual people working real jobs who do not have time at all to watch me because of how much they work, right? So, out of respect to those people, I continued to stream on YouTube even when it became financially non-lucrative to me in any kind of way. Like, I was not making any money from ads, and YouTube was taking a 30% cut of every super chat you gave me. By the way, I'm not saying your super chats mean nothing. They mean a lot, and I've been living off of them for the past year. So I just want to reiterate, I really appreciate you guys for the super chats. And I'm not even fully sure that I can fully transition to Kick or Rumble to make a living, because one thing YouTube does very well is the super chat system very much incentivizes donations better than others, because, you know, you get to actually say something on stream and interrupt the stream, and it's the audience's ability to participate in the stream, which Kick and Rumble, I mean, Rumble does offer it to a certain extent, but there's no alerts built into Streamlabs. So it's a trade-off is what I'm trying to say. It's quite the trade-off. So I'm making this video because I was initially going to make a video on the main channel, and I decided I didn't want to do that. I guess I'm going to stream this to touch base with my live stream audience, to basically let you guys know what's going on. So first of all, I don't want to manifest this and jinx anything, but I have a strong suspicion that me getting permanently deleted from YouTube is probably a matter of time. If I grew to 100,000 subscribers, if I grew at a rapid pace, I think it's guaranteed YouTube will find a way to censor me. I mean, I can see no universe in which that's not going to happen. I'm already getting censored in a soft way, but in terms of explicit censorship, I think that's a pretty inevitable reality. And it's a matter of when, not if. Okay? Now, I have been streaming to Kick for a week, but there's a problem with Kick. Now, I have to say something. Kick, in every respect, is the superior live streaming platform. In terms of being able to live stream videos, Kick is just objectively better, right? There are no advantages to YouTube streaming compared to Kick besides the super chat function. Every live stream, I have to make a thumbnail. I have to treat every live stream like its own unique video, which gets old, because guess what? Not every day is interesting, you know? Being a full-time live streamer from Twitch, I'm not used to having to always report on interesting new developments. It was enough on Twitch for me to go live and spend time with my chat and my audience, reacting to stuff and talking and shooting the shit, things like that, on days that there really was not a lot going on. And YouTube really punishes that kind of content, makes it really hard to do that kind of content. Additionally, YouTube punishes long-form content a lot, right? Especially for live streams. Nobody has time to watch a 5-hour live stream and go through the entire thing. And as you could see, committing all of this live streaming on YouTube has hurt the actual main videos on my channel. Last time I uploaded a video was 2 months ago. And the reason for that is because every time that I want to upload a video, I have to worry about the algorithm and whether or not going live that same day is going to hurt the performance of that video. So YouTube has always been a miserable place for growth as far as I'm concerned, as long as I've been streaming here full time, okay? So I am going to come up with a solution that I hope is going to make everyone happy, okay? And this is where it's going to address a lot of your concerns about streaming elsewhere and not wanting to have to, you know, go to Kick or go to Rumble to watch me stream. I am going to start kicking out VODs and edited videos on my main channel like 4 times a week. Like I am already on. I already have a few people editing videos for me as we speak, including someone who I made a deal with to make them pretty regularly. And they're going to pretty much take the meat and potatoes from my streams and upload and edit them. And then I'm going to upload those to the YouTube. So for all of you guys who don't have time to watch the live streams and can only watch VODs, you're going to be happy. Additionally, I have to say something. YouTube's extremely unforgiving strike and banning system is not feasible for someone who makes a living off of this. When they just issue me a strike and I can't upload anything for an entire week and I have no way of talking to my audience, that's a problem. It's a problem when the only way I can fucking reach you is on YouTube. At any moment, YouTube can issue me 1 strike. For 1 week, I can't contact you. They can issue me 2 strikes. For 2 weeks, I can't contact you, right? And I can't commit to streaming on YouTube if that's the case. YouTube cannot be the place that people expect streams from me every single day when at any moment they can just completely ban me and my channel's still there, but people are confused and wondering if I quit streaming. It's absolutely not sustainable, okay? It's absolutely not sustainable. And then here's the problem. When I do streams on YouTube, I really have to walk on eggshells now. And for some reason, YouTube is really starting to feel like Twitch in terms of the harshness and sensitivity with which they treat their TOS and ban topics. I don't know if one day something I say on the live stream is going to get me banned. I would rather be able to very carefully edit everything I do on my live streams to make sure with 100% certainty that what I put on YouTube is going to be appropriate for the YouTube platform. And the truth is, it's a really big handicap on me to have to stream on YouTube and censor myself as much as I do. I cannot tell you how much of a breath of fresh air streaming on Kick and streaming on Rumble really is when I do stream on those platforms. Being able to say almost anything I want as long as it follows the law takes away so much stress from me and radically improves the streaming experience. It lends itself more to long form streaming on my part, and it's a much better place to stream in. I just prefer streaming to Kick for so many reasons. If you're older, I get it. If you're a part of the older crowd, I get why you wouldn't want to go to a website like Kick, which is very much targeted toward younger audiences. But I am not that type of streamer. I'm not a news streamer, for example. I'm not like Jackson, where I'm able to reach all generations in terms of my humor. And if you are part of an older generation, you can look past all the young cringe. I deeply appreciate you as a member of my community. And I really respect and appreciate that you look past all the young jibber jabber, right? But streaming is relatively speaking, and I hope I'm not talking out of my ass here, a medium that mostly appeals to people around my age, right? And to me, it makes sense for the type of streaming that I'm interested in doing to do it on Kick, if I'm going to be doing long-form streams. That's not to say I'm going to neglect YouTube and Rumble. The great thing about Rumble is that everything I ever will upload to YouTube will go to Rumble automatically. So I'll always have a foot in Rumble to reach Rumble. The only thing is streaming to Rumble is not something I really foresee all that much in the future, if only for the fact that Rumble's live streaming tools, capabilities, culture, etc., even its chat are just vastly inferior to Kick's in every respect. I mean, there is a reason I originally transferred from YouTube to Twitch back in 2021, which was, by the way, a pretty unpopular move. But I did it for a reason, and had I not done that, I probably wouldn't have grown as big as I did. Thank you so much,
who likes YouTube. VC, I don't want to put my card info on Kick.
No, I understand that, but I mean, I hope I'm not eating my words, but Kick should be pretty safe. It uses Stripe, so Stripe is Yeah, I'm not sure which reputation Strike has, but thank you so much for the 5, by the way. I appreciate it. But, yeah, so basically the plan, as far as how to evade the censorship is concerned, is I don't think it's possible for me to stream on YouTube long term. I don't, right? I think what's going to have to happen is I'm going to move my live streaming to Kick, or I'll move it to Rumble. But right now it's Kick. I'm using Kick now. Probably going to use it for another week to see how it goes as far as, is this lucrative for me? Can I make a living off of this? And if I can, then I'm going to be streaming on Kick. But I can promise you something. I am no longer going to allow 2 days to pass without something being uploaded to this channel. I am not going to let this channel die. That's why before I even hit the live button here, I have made extensive preparations to make sure that I am going to have editors, I am going to have videos out, and there's already a few VODs I have ready to upload to the YouTube, okay? So I'm not neglecting the YouTube. I'm not going to fucking let the YouTube die. I'm just going to start uploading to the main channel as the primary way of content on YouTube instead of the live streams. Again, the censorship is so severe on YouTube that it makes it difficult to live stream in an authentic way. It just feels very fake. I always have to walk around eggshells, and I have to be scared and worry about what I'm going to say is going to trip YouTube's TOS censors, because they are very light as far as what they consider worthy of banning you, right? If you critique certain lobbying, YouTube will strike you. Even if they reverse it months later, they will fucking strike you, right? And, you know, it's funny because I am constantly being told by Marxists that, Haas, you're a reactionary because this group is oppressed and you're not taking up their struggle as a struggle for the oppressed. Because I constantly had to ask the question, hey, what makes this specific culture struggle Marxist? What does it have to do with Marxism? And what they'll tell me is, well, Marxism is about the oppressed, and these people are oppressed, and you know we have to take up their banner because they're an oppressed people. Well, ladies and gentlemen, look no further than how sensitive. Thank you so much, Alexander.
Kick has been amazing. Some of my favorite streams. Love you getting real and opening up on
Yeah,
there.
me too. Thank you so much, Alexander. I appreciate that. I mean, look no further.
Revolution.
Thank you so much, Siderite. I appreciate you so much. Really look no further than YouTube as far as the extreme severity and sensitivity with which this big tech corporation will censor speech outright and completely deprive people of their means of living for critiquing a certain movement that leftists call a movement of the oppressed. How can it be a movement of the oppressed if they have so much institutional backing to the point where, like, if you have certain opinions, by the way, ones I don't consider that radical, you will get fully deplatformed and they will fully censor you. It just doesn't make any sense and it doesn't add up. And these are the things we constantly raise. And then when you raise this objection to them, all reasoning breaks down. Like, first they'll employ reasoning by saying something like, okay, the reason Marxists must take up the banner of a certain flag is because that's a movement of the oppressed. And then we bring up to them, okay, then if it's a movement of the oppressed, why is it that I am constantly getting striked for the most minor critique, not of individuals, not of lifestyles, but of a specific movement and following the money trail of that specific movement? And then once you raise this objection with them, all reasoning breaks down and they just immediately start insulting you and immediately go to the personal attacks. If they will say anything, the most they'll be able to say is, oh, it's just pinkwashing, it's just whitewashing, and the ruling class is appropriating the struggle of the oppressed. And then to that I have to say, what are they appropriating? With such severity with which all opposing opinions are silenced, what are they appropriating? What existed before the appropriation? Please let me know. And please let me know what incentive they have. Thank you so much, Zach.
Fellow anti-imperialist YouTuber. You and I both share common views, man. I do live streams and global reports and I know how it is. Keep it up, bro.
Thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate you so much. And then all I have to say to that is, like, what incentive do they have to expropriate that? Do you think that their position is actually popular? Because I guarantee you it's not. It's definitely not popular to censor that many people. I guarantee you, if you took a poll of Americans and asked them, do you think it's justified to censor people over critiquing the lobbying going into this movement? I would be very baffled and surprised if a majority said yes. I would be very baffled and surprised, right? So there's no reasoning on their part as far as why. So they'll just call you a reactionary and dismiss you and attack you. Whatever, I'm going on a tangent. The point is, live streaming to YouTube is dangerous if you're someone who fears risking losing it all. It's really dangerous.
Amerio, do you know what this means? Ameriio means my will be moved to kick. I'd like to see your bitch ass block me.
Okay, you know what? You know what? We are not having any of that, alright? We're not having any of that. But to continue what I was saying, it's really dangerous to live stream to YouTube, and anything that gets uploaded to YouTube has to be very carefully curated and edited before the fact. Just streaming no filter to YouTube, I mean, anything can happen. I can slip up, literally anything can happen, and I can get a strike and get fully banned. I mean, the most ridiculous one is the one when I was playing Call of Duty and I was debating that one guy, that weird person. And mid-stream, you guys remember it, I got a strike. And last time, it was over a video of me critiquing George Soros. Well, a video they restored, by the way. You can go see it up now, and they apologized for. But I can't risk that anymore, right? I want to have a situation where, you know, I can basically go live regularly on a platform that I know isn't going to randomly ban me with no way for me to tell my followers or alert them, right? So if you're interested in my live streams, there's two things you need to do, okay? The first thing you need to do if you're interested in my live streams, stomach your pride, go to kick.com, make an account, and follow me at kick.com/infrared, okay? If you are ever interested in watching my live streams, I promise you that's going to be the place to watch them, okay? I am almost certain that every single stream I do, save for the big events that I know is going to draw a lot of people in, there's a possibility I might still do those on YouTube, but save for those specific streams, if you enjoy watching me as a live streamer and want to continue watching me as a live streamer, kick.com/infrared, go sign up for it, make an account, and follow me. Put your alerts on, get the app, and get ready to go. And then also, it doesn't hurt to get Rumble. And trust me, guys, I know this is fucking frustrating, okay? I know this is frustrating. I don't want to have to make 500 accounts across 20 platforms just to watch one fucking person, okay? But I hate to say it, I am not a mainstream live streamer. I'm an underground live streamer. I am someone who is relentlessly censored and, yes, persecuted to the point where it's not possible to have the convenience of just being able to fucking watch me all the time. And if you're one of those people who's just like, you know what, I'm just going to watch whatever's on the surface web, all that matters is what's on the surface web. If it's not on the YouTube homepage, it doesn't matter. What I have to tell you is you're missing out. There's a lot of things on Rumble. There's a lot of things, I mean, less on Kick, obviously. I'm one of the only serious political people on Kick. But there is a lot of things outside of big tech that you're missing out on, right? If this is your only source of information, put it this way, if YouTube is your only source of information, you have no idea how much your worldview has already been warped, okay? Since 2016, there has been such a profound, attack on our free speech, and there's been a huge wave of censorship that wiped YouTube of so much. If you are still primarily getting your content from YouTube, I don't know what to fucking tell you, except for the fact you have already been brainwashed and you don't even know it. Because these algorithms are biased, okay? Your content is being carefully curated in such a way. I mean, they even got rid of the dislike button. The only way we could express our dissent was the dislike button. They got rid of it, right? So if you're on YouTube, you are so brainwashed, this is the only place you're on. And I'm not telling you that because it's my incentive to get you on other platforms, although it is. I'm telling you this because I've seen it firsthand. When I started watching shit on Rumble and BitChute, I was like, holy fuck, this is like, we've missed out on so much here, right? And one of the last things was the Russia-Ukraine war, to be honest, that you can still cover on YouTube, although Jackson is fully demonetized, to give you a fucking idea of the severity of the censorship situation that's going on here, okay? So, basically, to summarize, right, going to be streaming full-time, probably on Kick or Rumble, depending on if it's lucrative, okay? And that's the key thing. I have been streaming on YouTube for a year, okay? I've been streaming on YouTube. It's actually been over a year, okay, since I got banned from Twitch. I have not grown in terms of my audience on YouTube. My core audience, I don't have a traditional model of community growth. Now, I am not a fan of Destiny. You guys know that. I am not a fan of his community. You guys know that, right? It's night and day. But as far as the community I want to build, there's a reason we call it IGG. I'm not saying we want to adopt the value systems and the viewpoints and the behavior and mannerisms of that community. But one thing that is pioneering about DGG is the platform independence. Destiny can stream at any time, anywhere, and he will still be able to have thousands of viewers. To me, it is probably the most sustainable form of being a political content creator on the internet. If Hassan Piker got banned from Twitch, I'm not sure if his core community, I mean, I don't know, maybe it would. But I don't see the level of versatility across, for example, views, okay? I am not someone who wants to pander to the left. I have a versatility of opinions and views that may trigger you if you're too far up your own ass as far as the leftism or the far right shit. Just look at my tweet on Lord of the Rings and see how many right-wing man-children are genuinely distressed on an emotional level that I have insulted their fairy tale children's book, okay? So, yeah, I know he's promoted by the algorithm and shit, but I am very much interested in having that level of versatility as far as the community is concerned. And so when I talk about growing, what I mean to say is, I don't just mean that I want to grow my subscribers. I don't even just mean that I want to grow my views. I want to grow my core audience. I want to grow the core audience of the guerrilla armies. The core loyal audience of guerrillas is what I'm interested in growing. I am not interested in just pulling indiscriminate views from everywhere. I am interested in growing a community. Now, the reason I'm interested in doing that is, even though it'll make me less money, is for a simple reason. I am, believe it or not, launching an organization very soon. Okay? Within a few days, when I put my hats up on my website, my merch, after that, it's going to be a few days, I think, and then I'm launching the organization. Or I'm announcing it at least. Okay? I am launching an organization. That means my viewers aren't just going to be your typical viewer, my core audience at least. They're going to be people who are dedicated enough to new political ideas that they might actually be interested in doing some stuff in real life. Political organizing is the most vague way I can describe it. Not because I'm not allowed to. I'm not saying some crazy shit. but because it's just such a new thing that I'm launching. It's such an innovative form of in real life political engagement, which is using some Web3 technology around it. It's never been done before. And, you know, I don't see... You need a core audience to be able to pull something like that off. And that's really what I'm interested in growing, okay? From here on out, the infrared streams are probably going to be about funneling my viewers into a real political organization. And I'm doing this with way less viewers than I had anticipated I would need to. But at this point, I feel like infrared has already made its mark. I've already said my piece. I'm not really interested in just talking for the rest of my life and doing nothing else. I feel like now is time to put our money where our mouth is and show people we have something to offer. You know, we are showing people we have something to offer. Did they actually get rid of the woke agenda? Because I'm pretty sure there was a huge controversy with the Amazon TV show that there were black elves. Now, I don't care that there are black elves, because I think elves are stupid as fuck. And I also think that the elves are other things that I can only talk about on Kick. But I do find it funny. Like, yeah, it is funny. Arab elves would be funny. Like, any non-white elf. Because Tolkien basically was creating, like, this, you know, to be YouTube friendly, a European supremacist idea of the Aryan race of the elves. And it's just kind of funny, I guess. To me, it's pretty funny and silly, actually. I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. By the way, I don't hate Lord of the Rings. It's just that I liked it as a child. Like, maybe when I was early in high school. It was fun. I do take issue with Lord of the Rings fans being so attached to it that if you insult Gandalf, they will literally take that to be a meaningful political statement. And that exposes to me that a lot of these trad religious right-wingers, if not the overwhelming majority of them, are not actually traditional or religious. They are just adopting a worldview that makes sense of their favorite movie. They watch Lord of the Rings, and they want to make sense of Lord of the Rings, and they want to have a worldview that's compatible with their favorite character from their favorite movie, and that's why they adopt these values. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say something. I'm not even really convinced that the Andrew Tate crowd is really red pill. I'm not even really convinced that when they say, oh yeah, masculine value, I'm pretty sure they're just living up to some movie. Like, you know, to me, I will tell you guys something. I'm going to tell you something about masculinity and traditional values. There's two types of men. There's the man who believes that masculine values are important because they have been confronted with a situation where their loved ones, be it their wives, their sisters, their daughters, close to them, were in danger, and they were put in a position where their actual natural role as a man was tested, and they had to defend those closest to them. And it literally made or broke the meaning of being a man. Or if you're in a life or death situation, you had to fight another man for some reason. Maybe you were in a war, and it was the make or break situation as far as what defines you as a man. So there's a lot of people for whom experiences like that will be your point of reference for manhood, right? But a lot of these Andrew Tate people, and I think it's okay to critique them now that they're not in jail anymore, because I think it's a little cowardly to do it when they're in jail. But now that they're not in jail anymore, I feel like these people are just trying to be something they saw in a movie. And I don't find that particularly masculine at all. I don't find masculinity something beautiful. I don't find masculinity something aesthetically tasteful. I find masculinity to be something inherently ugly, and rightfully so. Masculinity is a reflection of the ugliness of the world. Masculinity is something you have to protect your loved ones and those around you and even yourself. It is not something pretty. It is something ugly. That's why you shouldn't be aestheticizing it in the way Bronze Age pervert and all these other aestheticians of masculinity do. It's not really something that is beautiful. I think women are beautiful. I think women are inherently beautiful. A statue of a woman is beautiful to me. A statue of a man, I'm sorry to say, is not, right? But I know that's controversial nowadays among the right wing, that women are beautiful and men are not. But I think men are inherently ugly and women are inherently beautiful, right? I think most of the right wing are actually still stuck in an adolescent, childlike phase where they are attached to forms of media like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or Skyrim. And this is their fundamental fantasy. And anything that kind of disturbs this fantasy is how they define the friend-enemy distinction of politics. So, for example, obviously, many leftists are grotesquely ugly people. Okay, no doubt about that. But they actually see these leftists as kind of disturbing that cupola of the Lord of the Rings or whatever. And they just want to have their chicken nuggies and chalky milk. And I don't find that to be a form of politics that is serious, admirable, or in any way compatible with what we're trying to do. Just not at all. Sorry. You know, we refer to the ugliness of leftists because we're trying to point out they are spiritually ugly. There is something false and wrong about their position. But the right wing, the line really is being drawn at anime. As ridiculous as that sounds, I find it necessary to draw the line at anime, you know? To me, drawing the line at anime is like the ultimate litmus test. Are you an anime right-winger? If so, we have nothing in common. You are my enemy. You're not even my enemy. You are a sad, pathetic, degenerate product of our society that I cannot distinguish from something I can't say on YouTube. Simple as that. Like, if you are an anime right-winger, you are so hopelessly irredeemable. You are just a nihilist. You're no different than Antifa. You're no different than all these leftists. You are exactly the same pathology, right? And then, you know, the retort that they'll say is oh, well, you're just brown. Well, you're just being racist toward yourself. If what you're trying to say is that the mighty white Aryan race is defined by loving prepubescent cartoon little girls, that is a form of racism against white people that I will not stand for. I have many white friends who are not degenerates, who are not pathological degenerates and nihilists, who are upright, decent, God-fearing people. And I am opposed to the way anime white nationalists are racist against the white race. Because I'm against racism. Because I'm on YouTube. I will not stand for this slander and racism against my white brothers and sisters. Because they're basically trying to say that brown people such as I, you know, Chad, virile, Chad-looking, bearded, Arab kind of guys who have high testosterone are resistant to liking anime because we can actually get real bitches and because we're actual real men. And we can actually go to the gym and lift things. And we can actually protect the women around us, our mothers, our sisters, our wives, our girlfriends, our daughters. They're basically saying us brown Chads are the only real men and that all white men are effeminate. And I genuinely am opposed to that racism. That's racist against white people. There are plenty of white Chads. Unironically, there is. I'm not even just saying that. Look at Jackson. Jackson is leading the anti-anime campaign. Anytime someone says, oh, Haas, you're just saying this because you guys are brown. Oh, is Jackson brown? Jackson is quite literally he might be the whitest person I've ever met in my life. And if you ask me who has the views closest to you, I will say Jackson does. So anytime someone says that, I will just reference Jackson, okay? And you know what? I'm going to also draw another distinction. Now, if you're European, I know Europeans are very sensitive. Please just stop being so sensitive, okay? You Europeans talk shit about Americans all the time, and we take it on the chin. So I want you guys to do the same thing for me if you're a Western European. I think a lot of the right-wing radicalism are Europeans trying to impose some shit on America that's just not American. Anime is un-American. All of these trends are un-American. Unironic, like, racial nationalism is European. That's a European paradigm. Scientific racism came from the British. The Confederacy was funded by the British, okay? American racism was British in origin. These are all European things. When you have this shit, when you have this thing where like, oh, you're brown, you're impure, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are just a, turtle vest, sweater wearing European with glasses coming to our country and trying to impose some shit that is radically foreign to our soil. And if you want me to give you some evidence of this, if you go down into the boonies where all of the hillbillies are, you will find so many of them are intermixed with indigenous people. The natives, or the Indians, as they're called, they prefer to be called from what I heard, are more, when people say redneck, they're more hillbilly than the white ones. They have trucks, they're very rural, they're temperamentally rural, even more than the white people. They're very much in the soil of America. They are true Americans. That's why they're called first Americans, because they are the most Americans out of any American. So much so that they're even seen that way. You don't believe me, then you don't have experience. This is the truth. Conservative, salt of the earth, working class Americans are racist. I am not denying they're racist, but they're not racist in the vegetable-like European way. And I'm being careful with my words because we're on YouTube. They're not racist like, oh, that's impure. That's impure. That's not why they're racist. White working class Americans tend to be racist because they are disdainful, fearful, or disapprove of others' practices. They don't like the way others do things and conduct themselves. They don't actually really care about skin color or physiognomy or any of that stupid fucking Bronze Age pervert European bullshit they're trying to fucking bring to our country. And by the way, I am regularly called a white person. Isn't that funny? They say I am half white. They say I'm half white. And I actually have to argue I am fully brown. I'm fully Lebanese, right? So there's two kinds of racism. There's American racism, which is very real. I am not denying American racism. America is one of the most racist places ever. Although, I would say it's the least racist place ever. If you think America is the most racist place on earth, you haven't been to Romania. That's just the truth, right? So, America is one of the least racist places on earth, let's be honest. Americans are not racist in the way anime racists are. Anime racists have a European-style racism. Now, I'll explain to you European-style racism. European-style racism is when you're comfy and cozy. You're comfy and cozy with your Lord of the Rings, and your Harry Potter, and you're the pure Aryan race, and you're so comfy and cozy, living off welfare that comes from American tax dollars. So you're so comfy and cozy, and the way other people look frightens you. You're frightened by the way people who have darker skin tones or different faces look to you, and they frighten you. They genuinely frighten you because they make you feel less cozy and comfy as you want your chalky milk and you want your chicky nuggies. Now, that is European-style anime racism. You want to sit and watch your anime, and you're disturbed by the fact that immigrants are playing loud music outside, and they like scare you, and you think you call them orcs, just like the Ukrainian Nazis call Russians orcs. And that's your European racism. But I will have you know that American racism is very different. Okay? American racism is offensive racism. Americans go out of their way to be offensively racist. It's not a defensive, self-victimizing racism. That's European racism. European racism is childlike, self-victimizing racism. Okay? American racism is a racism that goes out of its way to victimize others, because we have this dog-eat-dog, very brutal mentality where we will look for the smallest excuse to bully, attack, and give shit to others, not because we're coming from a place of security and comfort and coziness, but because we genuinely just like fighting and taking the piss out of each other and going out of our way to attack each other, because we think you're a pussy if you don't. And there's a very big difference between them. I don't condone racism. I'm against racism. I'm on YouTube, okay? But American racism is not European racism. European racism is, I can't say it on YouTube. I'd have to be on Kick. But European racism is, let's just put it this way. European racism does not really fall under the aegis of the spectrum of heteronormativity. It is not heteronormative. Can I use that word? European racism is not heteronormative. Anime racism is not heteronormative. It's based in degeneracy, it's based in adolescence, and a childlike self-victimization amidst this hostile world around us. Now, let me tell you why America is different. Because America is and always was a hostile world for the very first people who were here, including the First Nations. The first Americans, the indigenous people. It's always been a hostile land for everyone who was in it. Everyone who ever lived in America was living in a hostile land that showed them no mercy. Okay? So that's the Wild West America. The America of the Wild West was not some comfy, cozy welfare state in Sweden where you get the tax dollars of Americans to pay for everything in your life. America was always a very hostile, alien, and foreign environment. At least for the first settlers who were here. But I'm pretty sure it was also for the people who crossed the Bering Strait who first arrived here as well. I'd be willing to bet that as well. Okay? So yeah, it's not effeminate. European racism is very effeminate. Anime racism is very effeminate. All these people on Twitter who respond to me saying, oh, brown, okay. But that's an effeminate form of racism. I hope you know that. Okay? American racism is different. It's offensive, not defensive. It's not self-victimizing. It's other-victimizing. And it's... Look, Americans will look for anything. They will look for the smallest thing to test your mettle. That's what Americans like to do. Testing the mettle of others. I am not blaming others for the crimes of Americans, by the way. Americans have done a lot of fucked up shit. Slavery was a horrific system that the Americans, slave owners, or whatever, who partook in it, are fully responsible for. But we do need to admit something, and if you don't admit this, you're fucking lying. The spirit of the American Revolution in 1776 was about destroying slavery forever. And the only reason it wasn't destroyed is because of the threat that the southern slavocrats would go over to the British, so the Founding Fathers made a compromise. I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you, slavery is not the spirit of what America is. That's a system that came from the British, which America continued and even expanded in many regards after the British were gone. But when Abraham Lincoln was waging the war against the South, when the abolitionists, by the way, emerged in America, a religious tradition, abolitionism, for them, slavery was antithetical to the American spirit. The Civil War was about completing the American Revolution and truly defining what America is as a country and as a nation. And that is how it was experienced. And hundreds of thousands of white Americans, by the way, died giving their lives fighting for the Union in that war. So for any fucking European who wants to come to us and tell us that their version of racism is what's going to be applied to America, needs to fucking go to Washington, D.C., go to the tombs, the uncountable, the even undiscoverable tombs of every fucking Union soldier who died to bury the vile and disgusting system of European slavery forever. We Americans are not the same as Europe. We're not the same as anyone else on earth, actually. We're our own thing. And a lot of the American right is just trying to bring European bullshit to America. Now, to be fair, the left is doing the same shit, trying to bring European bullshit to America. Look at AOC. Look at democratic socialism. Look at all the communists and socialists who are just trying to do European-style politics. The problem is all this importation of European politics. Now, I have a lot of European fans because I'm inspiring you guys to get rid of soy in your own countries, okay? But if you're my European fan, here's what I want to tell you. There's nothing wrong with European politics in Europe, okay? Just like there's nothing wrong with American politics in America. When American politics get enforced onto Europe, it's bad. When European politics get enforced onto America, it's also bad. So you need to realize this. I take it on the chin when you guys talk shit about America. I don't get offended. You have every right to. I encourage it even. Why? Because I want Europeans to be more European. I want Americans to be more American. I want the British to be more British. I want the French to be more French. I just want the Americans to also be more American instead of trying to copy and become these European countries, which we will never be, which we are not, which America was founded upon repudiating and turning our back on forever. Okay? If you don't know this basic history, you haven't read anything from the Founding Fathers. We are not Europe. We will never be Europe. Okay? We will never be a fucking... we will never belong to Europe. Period. We will never be a European country. We are American. We are an American country. Okay? We will have always more in common with Mexico than we do with the UK. And I die on that hill. We have more in common with Mexico than the UK. If you can't see that, you're lost. The Mexican mentality, the Mexican mindset is far closer to the American one. They are Americans, by the way. They're their own version of America. We are just the United States. Mexico also is part of America. They are closer to us in their mindset than as we are, okay? Than the British. I don't hate the British. I'm not against the British. I just don't like the special relationship we have, which is to the detriment of both of our working classes. I'm not against the British, not against the French, I'm definitely not against the Germans. I even have a soft spot for Germans, if you can believe it. But I just want everyone to fight for their own working class and their own country. And unfortunately, the American right wing, a huge portion of it, is just a European right. It's just European. So just like the American left, granted, right? But it seems like all these dissident, non-standard, non-establishment forms of politics are just European-style politics. And that is pretty baffling to me. That's pretty bafflingly pathetic to me, you know? Because the real goal should be about building something American, right? Give me one. Thanks so much, Blackpack.
LOTR is supposed to be a kid's story. Nothing more, nothing less. Time to grow up for all of us.
No, apparently it's much more than that.
Based.
Viewing masculinity is a very homosexual way of viewing. There is nothing wrong with being a homosexual.
Based.
Washington
Thank you,
wanted
Johnny.
to abolish slavery. He just couldn't do it because he needed the country united against the British. Not a lot of people know this. The 1619 Project is so revisionist and dangerous.
Yep. Yeah, another thing about Lord of the Rings, Spirit of Modernity is bringing this up. One of the reasons I hate Lord of the Rings is because it's un-American. Lord of the Rings is un-American. If you're in Britain and you love your Lord of the Rings, keep it. Just keep it there, okay? We shouldn't have it. We have our own literature. I'll tell you some American fantasy literature we have that is very American. Dune. Dune is American fantasy fiction, and it is very American. It is profoundly American, right? We have Dune. You can have your Lord of the Rings. Go ahead, keep it. We don't need the elves. We don't need Gandalf. And Gandalf needs to stay away from our children. We have Dune, okay? Now, a lot of people look at me and they say, Haz, you're an Arab. You're a son of immigrants. What right do you have to lay claim to the American tradition? And you know, in any other context, if I lived in any other country, I would say, yeah, I should be more humble. I shouldn't just be this guy who goes, yeah, I'm the son of immigrants, and now I speak for this country. But I look around myself in America, and I realize something. Everyone here is experiencing America in such an immediate way that America's meaning is not defined by something in the past. We have always been a future-oriented country. All it takes to be an American is someone who lives here, works here, commits to this land, and participates in the future that America is creating. That's all it fucking means, okay? That's why a guy named Elon Musk, who's from South Africa, can come to America and be so American. That's all America fucking means, okay? So, you know, the truth is, because a lot of people love to point out, oh, you're so Americanized, Haz. You're not even a real Lebanese. Yeah, I don't have any relationship to Lebanon besides my family, my cultural background, and my citizenship. I have never in my life been to Lebanon. I have never stepped foot in a country called Lebanon. I was born here. My entire life was raised in America. All of the movies you watched, all of the American things you did, besides eat pork, I have done. I have celebrated every 4th of July since I was fucking born, okay? Everything you do, I have done. You were born here, okay? Let's say you're my age and you're some white guy, right? Tell me what is more American about your life than mine. Probably nothing, okay? So, there is nothing about me that is not American. I may have immigrant parents, okay? So did a lot of Americans in history, by the way, if not most of them, I think. I don't know if that's actually true. But yes, I'm American, okay? I don't feel the need to have to defend myself in that regard. So I have the right to say we are not Europe. By the way, racially speaking, if you're going to make this about race, racially speaking, I am infinitely closer to Europe than I am to the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans, I think right now, are descended from Germans, okay? On an ethnic level or something. And then there's black people, and then there's Mexicans. The closest thing of those three is probably Mexicans because of Spain, and Spain is a Mediterranean country. But that's really a stretch, isn't it, right? Racially speaking, I have every reason to defend Europe over America. Lebanon is way closer to being a European country than it is to America, okay? Culturally, it's way closer to Europe. In terms of mentality, it's way closer to Europe. Everything is way more closer to Europe. It's also a Mediterranean country. A lot of people like to forget that. It's a fucking Mediterranean country. So yeah, if you want to look at it in terms of race, I probably do have more in common with an Italian or a Greek person than your average American. But that's the funny thing. That's why European racism is a lie. Because actually, in real life, I have way more in common with your average German American or Irish American or whatever than I do with Italians or Greeks. Way more in common. My DNA, in this case, means fucking nothing. This is a point Dugan raised once, by the way, that terminally triggered the Wignat community. Dugin made the point that anyone can become Russian. He said, if you are black, if you come to Russia, if you exhibit the Russian soul, if you adopt the Russian way, if you adopt Russian traditions, if you adopt the Russian spirit, right? You are no less Russian than anyone else. He said, Russianness is not about race. He said, the narod is not about biological race. Thank you so much, Danks. Appreciate
Mexicans are a bit complicated because many of them are diverse in race. I, for one, am half indigenous and European.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Thanks. I appreciate you so much, right? He said it's not about race. And a lot of Wignats got pissed about that. I mean, I'm sorry, that's some European shit. That's some European shit. And Americans are lost because we are confused when it comes to race, all right? We have this issue where we're either going to completely deny race, we're going to completely deny it, or we're going to try to make sense of it through Europe, which is not possible, right? The truth is that America is an extremely competitive and individualistic society. Any mark, any signification of collective difference, any difference whatsoever, any excuse for a person to one-up you will be taken. That's the fucking truth about race in America. The truth about race in America is that we are so dog-eat-dog that if we can use one thing against you on a collective level to one-up you and climb ourselves, we will do it. Any fucking excuse, whether it's race, whether it's religion, whether it's a funny birthmark you have on your cheek, anything. You will get relentlessly bullied when you grow up. And I mean, it's soft now, so it's changed. But America is more about fighting. It's more about a permanent state of all versus all. It's all about... See, let me put it this way. The problem with European racism being imported to America is this. Americans will never be racial collectivists. Never. Why? Because American white people are at war with each other. Every individual is at war with each other. It's a dog-eat-dog world. We don't care about these communal warmth. We don't have that. We don't have this European collective solidarity, national solidarity. We have dog-eat-dog. And the only reason racism is so big in America is because race is something an individual can use against another individual and get away with it to one-up them. It's not that white people like each other. They don't. Also, black people don't like each other. Mexicans don't like each other. Nobody likes each other. Everyone's at war with everyone. Everyone is at war with everyone. Race in America is only an excuse to attack each other. It has never, ever been an excuse to unite. Give me one fucking example of race in America being an excuse for people to unite and have solidarity. Never! It's never that. And people try to do that. They try to form these organizations. They try to do these things to have that. It never works. The only reality of race in America is conflict, not unity of people of a certain race. If you are in prison and it's racialized, like in California prisons, your allies, your brothers, let's say you're part of the Aryan Brotherhood or something, you turn your back, someone's gonna fucking stab you and rob you. One of your Aryan brothers will stab you and rob you. And if they're not doing that, it's only because they fear that the boss will do something to them if you do that. So, you know what you call see, this is what Europeans need to understand. These anime Europeans trying to import their jibber jabber to our fucking country. You need to understand something. You know what we Americans call someone who opens their door to a stranger because of some immutable shared characteristic? We call them a fucking sucker. You're a fucking sucker if you do that. In America, when everyone is out to scam you, rob you, and fuck you over, if you let your guard down to someone because they have the same skin color as you, you're a fucking sucker. White people know this. Black people know this. Mexicans know it. Arabs know it. Dearborn, Michigan, Arabs know it. If you were born and raised in Dearborn, Michigan, what do your parents tell you about the other Arabs? Do they tell you to trust everyone? Do they say, oh, open your arms and trust, be in racial solidarity? There's no racial solidarity at all. The only unity is based on war with others. And by the way, it's never against white people. It's always ethnicities fighting each other, right? If you are someone in America who's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking trust you because I share a race with you, you're a sucker. You're a fucking sucker. And that's what these anime Europeans will never understand. You European wignats and racists, you're like, oh, we're all white. We're all white, so come fuck my wife because you're white and I'm white, so you can fuck my wife. Oh, take all my money. Oh, we'll watch anime together, cozy. You're a cuck. You're a cuckold. I'm sorry. Maybe in Europe you have something different going on. I'm not a European. I have never been to Europe in my entire life. Maybe that's the case. But in America, we look at you as a cuck. We look at you as a sucker. That will never gain traction in America, I promise. By the way, what about Trump, Oz? Wasn't Trump a European-style racist? That's the thing, he wasn't. It's anime Nazis, anime racists, looked at how the media was covering Trump, and they're like, oh, he's our guy, he's our guy. That's why Bronze Age pervert, who's some fucking Romanian, Bronze Age pervert, not that I have anything against your Romanians, but he's some foreigner, basically. There's nothing American about that guy. The Straussians, the follower of Leo Strauss, are anti-American scum. There's nothing American about them. They hate America, and they want to turn us into some European-style country, okay? It's very much about religion in Dearborn now. No, Arabs are racist as fuck. Well, in my experience, many Arabs can be racist. I will phrase it that way, because I know I have to be extra politically correct. Regardless of religion, that's the truth. But what I'm trying to say is that, the anime Nazis look at what the American media was saying about Trump, which is, by the way, British propaganda. The British, of course, hated Trump. The liberal British hated Trump. And they were like, oh, this is a Nazi. So your anime Nazis like Bronze Age pervert were like, oh, yeah, that's our guy. He's not your fucking guy, though, because that was just fucking lies and propaganda from the media. I've been to MAGA rallies. I know MAGA people. They're not fucking hateful. They're not fucking racist. If you are black, if you are brown, if you are Arab, if you are Muslim, they will show you so much, on average at least, I'm not saying as a whole, on average, a lot of hospitality, a lot of warmth when they're dealing with you on an individual basis. They believe in justice and fairness. They believe in the American value that you judge a man by his fucking merit. You don't judge him by what he looks like. You judge him by his merit. And that's my experience with MAGA people. The media said that they hate me because I'm a Muslim and they hate me because I'm an Arab. But when I spoke to them in person, and when I speak to them in person, they treat me based on my character. They treat me based on my values. And yeah, can they be politically incorrect about Arab or Muslim stuff? Of course they can. But it's just because they don't understand it. It's not because they're these Europeans who think they're superior to everyone. It's not based on some self-conceit of superiority. It's just based in ignorance and lack of understanding, which to me is quite forgivable, actually. I have no issue forgiving that. Thank you so much. Thanks, appreciate you.
Bro, look at Sereños and Norteños. It's literally northern Mexicans versus southern Mexicans, but in prison they sometimes ally each other for survival.
Thank you, Jose.
Your LOTR tweets had the same effect on the rightist LARPers that the barista discourse had on leftist LARPers.
Yeah, it didn't.
The anime is what binds those two groups of delusional people together. We need a real Stalinist America.
Oh, man. So yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. I started taking note of this. Okay? All of the people who make a big deal out of race. I'm not talking about the people who are just casually being racist here or there. That doesn't offend me. I mean, I don't get offended either way. But the people who very seriously make it a big deal when it comes to Haas. Oh, Haas, you're anti-white. Haas, you have an anti-white agenda. I checked their profile. It's some fucking dude in Belgium. Some fucking dude in Sweden. Some fucking dude in Britain. Usually Britain is the biggest one. I said, you're not American. You're not part of my nation. You're not part of my country. Why are you talking to me like our politics is the same? Like your political opinion is even relevant to me, because it's not. I don't give a fuck what you do on your island. Or in your igloo. I don't give a fuck about that. Why are you making it seem like that? Yeah, we should respect world literature, I agree, but that's not what's going on. What's going on is we abandoned our own literature in favor of British J.K. Rowling, British Tolkien, British, you name it. All of this here's the problem, okay? We have abandoned our own literature in favor of adolescent, young adult, and child fantasy fiction, which is a dual-pronged problem. One, we are erasing any memory of the American nation, of our American roots. That's a big fucking problem, okay? Two, and this might be a bigger problem, people are stuck as man-children in a permanent state of adolescence. I look at what's going on in America, and slowly, everyone's becoming Europeanized. The left is becoming Europeanized, adopting European-style social democracy. And that's what's pushing Biden and stuff. They're becoming Europeanized, okay? The right wing is resisting it to a better degree, but the Strauss people, the Leo Strauss people, are trying to Europeanize everything about American politics. So I look at them, and I say, where is America? And I say, America is in MAGA. So I've come to the conclusion, if you live in the United States of America, and you're interested in communism, not only is MAGA your square one, because it's a working class movement, it's the only real American politics left. The rest of this is European jibber-jabber. It's European nonsense. I will never be in a country living there that's part of Europe. I'm sorry, I don't hate Europe, but I'm an American. Period. America was always European. No, it wasn't. Europeans came to America to build something new. And when they did that, they were taking the risk that they were going to become something unrecognizable in the future. And if you don't know that, you don't know anything about the history of this land. If we were still colonized by the British, yeah, they would make it just some European colony, just like Australia or South Africa or Rhodesia on the eastern seaboard. The Founding Fathers said, no, we are Americans. We are our own American country, our own American nation. We are not a colony of Europe. We're not a colony of Britain. We're building our own American civilization. If you disagree with that and you want to be a colony of Europe, and you want to be a European country in terms of adopting the European way of politics, you are an anti-American, by definitionally anti-American. Thank you so much for the raid, Jackson. What's up, Jackson? Jackson just had a hilarious debate, I heard, or I saw some of it. See, what I did is, I finished some of my writings, not all of them, and then I went straight to the gym. And I went immediately straight to the gym. And then as soon as I came, I finished the gym really quick, and then I came and I hit the live button. That's what happened. And thankfully, Jackson was still streaming. Because I thought, was Jackson end the stream before I come? And he didn't. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Blackback. Appreciate you.
We are Americans.
Mm-hmm. We are Americans. We're not Europe. We're not England. We're not France. We should be closer to Germany, honestly. I like Germany. But we're not Germany. But if we're closest to anything, it's Germany in Europe. The closest country to America in Europe is Russia, but not Eurasia, but Western Europe. The closest country to America in Western Europe is Germany. I think so. What do you guys think? Thank you so much, ALI. Appreciate you.
I just watched Jackson embarrass some fat guy. On Here from the Jackson Show. #1 show.
Yeah, we are closer to the Balkans. You know what's funny? Generally speaking, we are closer to Asia than Europe, in my opinion. But, and that includes the Balkans, of course. But, what I like about Germany is German modernity. I like, the painter, what's his name? The new objectivity guy. The guy in the I think Lenin liked him. And George Gross. George Gross. George Gross. It's called New Objectivity. It was a German artistic movement. No, not that German painter. Definitely not a fan of him. But George Gross. The New Objectivity movement. Which was trying to encapsulate the spirit of American modernity in Germany. And I just consistently, German fashion, Adidas, German music, I like. I don't think Nazism was really German authentically. Thank you so much,
If it weren't for World War I, large parts of America would be speaking German and English in their household.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. Marx was German. Hegel was German. German idealism was German. Germany gets a bad rap because of World War II, but the Nazis were agents of Britain, and they were not indigenous, authentic German tradition at all. But I do sense a closeness between the two. Yeah, it's because of the continental stuff. That's exactly it. It's a continental civilization. I'm just trying, like, people say we're the closest to the UK. No, we're closest to Germany. Most Americans are German descended anyway. So yeah.
Based.
Thank you so much, Madeline. Appreciate you.
Makes sense now. USA exceeds Europe. Reality exceeds ideology. Institutional ideas imposed are European, but the USA real returns with a vengeance.
Thank you so much, Madeline. Appreciate you. Fascism is Hamiltonian. I disagree with that. I disagree with that. Yeah, so my favorite countries in Europe are France and Germany, but not in that order. I kind of like both, and the combination of the both is the best. And it's crazy I say this because the German left is the worst. I'm talking about West Europe. I'm not talking about all of Europe, all right? You want to know my favorite country in all of Europe? It's Turkey. I'm just kidding. If Turkey is not part of Europe, then it's probably the Yugoslav Balkans, obviously. Unless we're not counting Russia. But France and Germany, yeah, in Western Europe. And my least favorite, guess what my least favorite country in Europe is? It's not actually the UK. It's Belgium. Belgium is my least favorite country in Europe. I have not had any positive experiences with anyone from Belgium in my entire life. There was a guy from Belgium who came to my VC once to defend the honor of Belgium, and you remember that guy who was drunk and he was very rude, very abrasive, very hostile, very aggressive, and not a big fan. Not a big fan. So, yeah. So there's that, you know. That's a big issue, is what I'm trying to say. That's a massive, massive, massive issue. So for all you Jackson people who are wondering what's going on, thank you so much, Black. I appreciate you.
Belgium is the Ukraine or Canada of Western Europe. It's not a real country.
Yeah, that's my opinion. That is actually my opinion. Thanks so much, Tanks. Appreciate you.
I also had bad experience with Belgiums. Also, Belgium is not a real country.
That's two people to say it. For you guys wondering, YouTube banned me for a week, and I'm doing this stream to basically talk about how, for the foreseeable future, I don't think I'm going to be streaming on YouTube anymore, but I will be uploading very regularly from the streams I do elsewhere, which will be heavily edited to be appropriate to YouTube's TOS, because YouTube issues strikes arbitrarily, and every strike I've received from YouTube, they've rescinded and said was a mistake, and they've taken it back. Okay, but the issue here is basically, you know, you don't know whether they're going to strike you and ban you for a week or not. And I can't make that my main source of income or my main source of streaming. YouTube live streaming has been my main source of income. And a trade-off is that if I start regularly uploading to YouTube and boost on the algorithm, I'm still monetized, so I can get ad revenue as long as it's not copyright striked, which it won't be because I'm not going to include any music.
Base.
Thank you so much, One Man. Appreciate
In the
you.
words of Public Enemy, you gotta fight the powers that be. Us don't let them take away your right to speak facts.
Yeah, true. True. So yeah, that's what's going on. The Declaration of Independence comes from the Scottish Enlightenment, inspired by the Scottish Claim Right of 1689. Okay, I'm not denying that America, the United States of America, has British origins. But America was a severe break with the British view of history itself, which was based on the accumulation of precedent tradition. Meaning our vision doesn't stretch backwards into the origins in Scotland, okay? It stretches forwards. It's a forward-based civilization. So we are trying to have a basis forwards, okay? It was Britain that was the most west of Europe, besides Spain, but who cares, right? And went to America, and then those British people who stayed in America said, we're not going back to Britain, we're building something totally new. So any British person who comes here and says, yo, America's part of our civilization, no, it's fucking not. No, it's not. We will never return to the fold of the British Empire. We are done with it forever. That has been proven in blood. So it absolutely is not. This is a lie. Plain and simple. What does the Hamiltonian view have to do with Britain? Nothing. Nothing. America is very different from Britain. This is what Stalin said, by the way. Stalin said America became a new nation, a different nation. It did. It's a different nation. It's a different nation. By the way, let me put it this way. Canadians don't sound like us, but Canadians are a colony. They're not even quite the same. What? Which British people sound like us? No one. The American accent. No, we're not the same civilization at all. Absolutely not. That's the biggest, most nefarious lie ever told. We are absolutely not the same civilization. The British did not want to go west. We went west without the British. They had nothing to do with it at all. When America went west, the British had no part in that at all. We put our boots on the ground, on a land that had nothing to do with Britain, that Britain had no part in, that came to define us and define who we are as a people, entirely separate from Britain. Now, a lot of British people have this mentality that, oh, Australia and Rhodesia and Canada, all these people are former British colonies, but yeah, they're still us. They're just kind of a little bit far from us, right? No, motherfucker, we fought a war with you. I'm sorry to tell you. That was a real war. It wasn't some skirmish. It was a big fucking war we fought with you to be totally separate from you forever, okay? So, we fought a war with you. No hard feelings. I'm not trying to start new wars. But we did fight a war with you. And we didn't fight that war to return to the fold of the British Empire again. You know? And you think about it, we fought 2 wars. Because the Civil War, that was a proxy war. Because the British were supporting the Confederates. And we're actually, at one point, going to intervene on behalf of the Confederates. So it was actually two wars, when you think about it. No, I feel like it's not just accents. It's more than an accent. It's like, our language has nothing in common. Besides that it's grammatically... Like, I know it's the same language technically, I'm not stupid, but the way we speak is not... It's way more than an accent. It's way more than a fucking accent. It's a completely different version of English. I don't even want to call it a dialect. It's not the same. Like, American English has never been properly standardized. It's never been properly standardized. How we give words meaning is in a totally different way. It's in a totally different way. And that's why there's so much miscommunication all the time, honestly. It's just because of this assumption that we speak the same language when we don't. We really don't. A lot of my critics are British Marxists. Oh, that's meaningless, Hayes. No, it's just that you don't understand American English, and I'm sorry for you. But we don't speak the same language. I recommend getting a translator. We don't speak the same language, okay? We speak American. I am for rescinding the English language as the name of our language. We speak American.
Based.
Thank you so much, one man. Appreciate
There are
you.
so many different dialects in each region of the U.S. from the South to the North to Midwest to the Pacific.
Yeah, but they're all American languages, and that's what we speak, American. We speak American. We don't speak English, we speak American. Like, we understand the British when they speak. We understand them, but we don't know why they say the things they do. That's the thing. We watch British TV and we watch British movies, and we do understand the words they're using, but we never, ever understand why they're using them in the way they do. We never do. We're never like, why are you saying this? What's the context for this? What makes what you're saying meaningful? You know, we've all gotten used to just being like, oh yeah, they're speaking our language. Let's pretend we understand them. But when you go on TV and there's some British guy going, oh, no, I don't know, you're going to sit here and fucking pretend you know why they're saying what they do? I have no fucking idea why they woke up in the morning and decided to say what they said. It makes no sense to me. It's not intelligible to me at all. We pretend it is because they use the same words, and according to the fucking dictionary, the word is supposed to mean the same fucking thing, but they're really not. It's just that the word is formally the same and has the same origins, but the context and meaning is totally fucking different. But we all sit here and pretend like we understand what the British are fucking saying, and we don't. We don't understand what the fuck they're saying, because if you don't have the fucking real context for it, you'll never be able to understand it, and we don't. The British say we don't appreciate their fucking humor because we don't understand sarcasm. No, motherfucker, we understand sarcasm. You just don't speak our fucking language. You speak English, and we speak American, motherfucker. You're not smarter than us. Oh, you Americans don't understand sarcasm. No, we understand sarcasm. We just don't speak. We don't know why you say the shit you do. It makes no sense to us. We don't understand you. You're totally unintelligible because your language was not forged in the Wild West. It was forged having tea and crumpets, not in the Wild West. We don't understand you. Our language was based in the Wild West and the practical needs and necessities of being in the Wild West. That's where our language fucking came from. You don't have any of that. There's none of that in your language or your vocabulary. Sebastian Gorka, go fucking home. Deport Sebastian Gorka back to England. He doesn't speak American, speaks English. And anyone who comes from England wants to live in America, I'm fine with that, but you have to learn to speak American. We don't speak English here. Sorry. And I'm not taking shit back. I am sick of apologizing for being American. I am sick of apologizing for being American. I am sick of sitting here saying, oh, we Americans do things wrong. The English are doing it the proper way. The English have the standard Oxford. Fucking take the Oxford dictionary and shove it up your Oxford English ass. It's not American. It's not an American dictionary. It's not an American language. We don't give a fuck about Oxford or whatever the fuck those Oxford people do. Fuck them. They're a bunch of jibber jabberers who sit with stupid hats sitting around not doing anything with their fucking hands in the dirt. Fuck Oxford and every fucking scholar in Oxford. And they can all suck my ass, suck my cock, suck my American balls. They never went out to the Wild West. Never went out in the Wild West. Never know this dog-eat-dog world that is America. They're living in the comfort of their fucking island. They come and lecture us as though they're the proper ones and we're the improper ones. No, we are proper Americans. Proper American English. Learn it or get out. I'm going to issue a ban if I ever take power. And this is my ban. If you are from Britain and you talk to Americans with the pretense on the internet or anywhere else that we are speaking the same language, I am going to forbid you to speak to Americans. Germans don't pretend Germans, when they speak Germans, when they speaking German, they don't think they're speaking our language. They're speaking German. The British speak, I'm not British. They're speaking British, but they think that they're speaking the same language as us, so they talk down to us because we're not speaking in a way that makes sense to them or conforms to their standards of propriety. Okay? You British need to understand something. We have our own language. You don't speak it. You don't understand it because you live on a fucking island. We live on a great, big, vast, big dick energy continent. We have a big dick energy language that you don't understand and you will never understand as long as you arrogantly pretend like you're the proper version of English and we're an inferior, deformed version of English. No, we speak American. It's our own language. We're not British. We're not English. We're American. It's totally different. And the British should be banned from communicating with us for as long as they do not respect the independence of the American fucking language. They are teaching our sons and daughters this disgusting, despicable Oxford English as if this is proper English and it's not. Fuck your Oxford, fuck your coastal elites. Every coastal elite who worships the ass of Britain and thinks they're more proper than us, shut the fuck up. Fuck British healthcare. Fuck the British system. Fuck everything about Britain in the American context. We are Americans. We're not British. We don't give a fuck about what you do on your island. I don't hate British people. Please just stay on your island, though. And that's all I'm saying. Stay on your island. Stop trying to talk down to us. We're not your subjects. We're not Canada. We are not some dickless country that is part of your fucking Commonwealth that didn't have the fucking balls to stand up to your fucking king. We are not Canada. We are Americans. We shed blood to be separated from you formally, forever. We will never be an extension of your island. So stop talking down to us. You're not superior. You're not better. You're not polite gentlemen. You're just some pretentious asshole speaking down to us out of ignorance and stupidity. I don't hate the British. I love George Galloway. I love George Galloway. There's a lot of British people I really deeply like, but I like them as British people.
If I say what I think
Thank
about
you,
the
Harold.
UK, Twitter will ban me.
See, thank you so much, Harold. I like British people when they embrace their Britishness, not when they pretend they're part American or we're part British, because we're not, okay? So let me tell you guys something. Okay? He's Scottish. Well, it's still Britain, right? Let me tell you guys something, okay? Because he's against the Scottish exit movement, which also seems a little cuck, too, if you ask me. Scottish independence seems like nonsense, right? So let me tell you guys something, all right? Let me tell you guys something. There's a lot of British people that I like, okay? There's a lot of British people that I like. But as it happens, okay, there's a big separation between America and Britain. Big separation. And we are as close to Britain as we are to France and Germany, and as we are to Timbuktu. And that's the hill I die on, okay? And I want to tell you guys something, okay? I want to be loud and clear about this. All right? I forgot what I was going to say. I was just... Someone interrupted me. Let me find out what I was going to say. Let me look through the chat to see what the fuck I was going to say. Oh, yeah. There are so many, though, in spite of the fact that I love George Galloway and a lot of British people. You ever notice how many fucking British journalists, MI6, Paul Mason, fucking Bellingcat, Vice News loving, Vice News, and HBO, Vice News, all these fucking people come from Britain to do what? To police us. Cambridge Analytica. Shut up! The Trump... Shut up! What does that have to do with you? Mehdi Hassan, Paul Mason. All these British journalists will never leave us the fuck alone. We fought a war to be separate from you forever. We have no special relationship. That's some shit Churchill wanted. FDR didn't. It's Truman, the traitor, who signed off on that, not FDR. Piers Morgan, they never shut the fuck up about us. They always talk about us, and they intervene in our politics. They intervene. It's like, we're always being told about Russian intervention. Russian intervention is, Russian intervention that. But we always ignore the British intervention. Why do we ignore that? Why do we ignore all the British thinkers and journalists, and they're always my Bellingcat, glowy fuck, CIA, MI6. Fuck you! You are the one reason we're in fucking Ukraine. I want to explain to you what a powerful state is right now. A state is only the sum result of the unit of its civilization, its people. So go ahead and explain this to me. What about American barbecues? What about American 4th of July? What about American apple pie? What about American football? What about American way? What about the American way? What about the American way leads us to be in Ukraine? Because we have a state that's decided we're going to go all in Ukraine. What about the American way has to do with us being in Ukraine? Now you say, well, Haas, what about the British way has to be in Ukraine? I'll say, okay, well, the British have a history of being pirates where they get on their ships and they sail around, just like the barbarian people who were attacking the Romans in the Roman times. Well, they built ships and they did that same shit where they kind of sailed around and they just loot people and they steal shit and they intervene in shit. There's nothing to do with them. They're always just everywhere, right? And that's so, that's a problem. The British need to do some introspection. But I'm asking you, what about the American way leads us to be in Ukraine? Who's pushing NATO the most? Who's pushing the cause of Ukraine the most? Who's cracking down the most on pro-Russia people? It's always been Britain. Just like, I forget who it was, the Russian ambassador to the UN, the representative at the UN, he said, Britain has always done its best to get in the way between the relationship between America and Russia. It's always been Britain that's gotten between us. Always been Britain. Always been Britain that's gotten between us. And I'm sick of it. If you are an honest British person, you will admit that your government, your MI6, your elites have always done the best they could to control us Americans. You've always tried to control us. You've always tried to talk down to us and control what we do. And you are profoundly dishonest if you deny that. You say, well, America's the big dog in the camp. No, we're the big dog because we enforce the City of London's international empire. Because the British Empire was too costly and expensive, so they outsourced it to America. They potentially killed FDR, and they put Truman in power. The OSS creates the CIA. The Cold War vanguard was Churchill, not FDR. And then the rest is history. And they claim this was an American struggle against the Russians, but I don't see where America squares in it. What about the American way leads to that? Nothing. This is all the British Empire. You could say the Americans were so horrible in the westward expansion to the Indians. The first Americans. We are also very horrible to black people. We were somewhat horrible to the Irish and the immigrants from the Elves Island. And we were very much horrible to ourselves. You don't get rid of the British mentality overnight. But Americans have always wanted to build a country, sea to shining sea, here. We've always dreamed of building a country here. We've always dreamed of doing something here. We've always dreamed of going our own way and building something new, future-oriented here. It's always been our dream. And our dream has never been to be the world police and be in fucking Ukraine. And I challenge you to find me in the founding documents of the Founding Fathers. Where exactly do you find evidence that we believed our destiny was to be in Ukraine? Our destiny was to be a global empire that is going to the old world and policing them.
Based.
Thank you so much, Quiet.
Congrats on the W. Chomsky proven CIAP do. Us proven correct again.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Based.
Thank you so much,
Does the same
Hopscotch.
separation apply for Latin America and Spain/Portugal? Or are they all part of the same sphere of Spanish civilization?
I can't speak for Mexicans or others. I can only speak for
Based.
America. Thank you so much, Black
Without the British, we'd develop the Arctic with the
We
Russians,
would
and
have. We
Canada
would
wouldn't
have.
exist.
We would have. See, I can't speak for the Mexicans, and let them decide their own fate. Spain is not an aggressive power, as far as I see it. They're not like the British, and they're. So I'm saying, unlike Canada, Mexico has the right to decide its future. Canada has no rights at all, and it doesn't have the right to be its own country either. Canada has always been the rightful land of the United States of America. Canada has no right. Mexico does, but Canada does not. Canada does not. We need to peacefully develop and coexist alongside the Mexicans. First of all, the Mexicans, and then the rest of the Americans in Central America and in South America. I say we have a special relationship with them instead of Britain. And I'm not talking about the Monroe Doctrine of colonialism. I'm talking about an equal partnership of mutual development, special a relation of Americans with each other. All Americans. Down south in South America, they're Americans. The Mexicans are Americans. We're Americans too. We're all here on this great American landmass. Let's act like it. Right? Let's act like it. Canada is a hotbed of British intrigue, the MI6, the British deep state, the American deep state, the international global capitalists in the City of London and Wall Street. Canada has always been a vicious, vicious, vicious enforcer of this horrific, disgusting empire. Thank you so much, Harold.
George Washington Maoism.
Yes, we do.
Based.
Thank you so much, Black Pack.
Without British interference, the Monroe Doctrine would have been developed along equal lines.
Yeah, I don't know about the history. I'm not completely aware of the whole history, so I won't comment on it. What are your thoughts on Japan? I don't have a problem with the Japanese at all. I do have a problem with one of their biggest exports, which is anime, which is un-American and anti-American. Anime is a bigger disaster for the United States of America than Pearl Harbor, objectively. It has been a bigger disaster for America as a country, as a civilization, as a people, than Pearl Harbor. Far greater of a disaster than Pearl Harbor. Far greater of a disaster than Pearl Harbor. It needs to be banned. It needs to be removed. And there can be no tolerance of anime. And it's a zero tolerance thing. You say, oh, what about Dragon Ball Z? And, that's not what you see, though. What you see is the little girl anime profile pictures. In reality, it's a fat, degenerate man. And a pedophile. And we're not having any of it in America. It will be banned. We are banning anime. Pornography will be banned as a whole. We're banning Marvel. And you know what? We're not going to ban Disney. We're not going to ban Disney. But what we will do is we will retake Disney. Because I like Walt Disney. I looked into the history of Walt Disney and I realized Walt Disney was a decent guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to reform and we're going to nationalize Disney to restore it to its roots in line with Walt Disney's vision of Epcot. We're going to do the Epcot. Thanks so much, Chris.
We nuked Japan, but they got us back with anime. They won.
We are going to restore Epcot. Thank you, Chris M. We're going to restore Epcot, the Epcot vision of Walt Disney. It's like Trump's Freedom Cities, if you think about it. We're going to restore Disney to its roots as Walt Disney intended. Walt Disney was an innovator and a visionary. He's just like Henry Ford. He's the Henry Ford of culture. And I used to hate Disney. But then I researched the history and I said, you know what? Walt Disney was the Henry Ford of culture. Now, he was problematic and he had problematic views, just like Henry Ford himself. But he was an innovator, he was a visionary, and his vision of Epcot is very, very communistic, very socialistic, actually. And McDonald's will also stay. We're going to nationalize McDonald's. Although, we'll do our best to make it healthier. And by the way, I don't recommend you eat McDonald's every day, but I recommend you have it maybe once a week in moderate quantities. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Anime will be banned in America forever. If you're going to debate me on anime and what it means for America. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to talk to me about the pedo show Evangelion, or you're going to talk to me about the actual nice, child-friendly cartoons from the 1990s that happen to be animes. And it's going to be a total straw man, because I am talking about the anime that your average Steam user watches. I'm not talking about some 1990s cute little child film for children. I'm talking about the fixation adults have on anime is the problem, okay? So that's the issue, okay? That is the issue, point blank, period, okay? Now, I'm going to do the Patreon Q&A. Although there's only 25 questions. I'll do it anyway, but I'll do one like next week, okay, as well. So I'm just going to do the Patreon Q&A as it is now, starting now. Get the timestamp. We're going to do it right now, okay? But we'll do one next week, and I'll let you guys come on, okay? So we'll do one next week, too. Don't worry about it. But I have to do this on YouTube. Do you believe that the Republican and Democratic parties are truly opposed to each other? Thank you so much, Hunter, for being a patron. Regarding social issues such as LGBT and race. I can't talk about that a lot on YouTube, but I don't think so sincerely. I don't get the suspicion it's sincere. I think deep down, both of them are just as progressive as each other. But because of their constituencies and their voters, they have to die on those hills. And the issues are made to be divisive across party lines because it keeps people in their respective interest groups to vote for their respective party. So that's the reason for that. George, thank you so much for being a patron. Hi, Haas. My question is this. Thank you so much, Boydburn. Appreciate you.
I always liked Epcot and Tomorrowland as a kid.
I did too. My question is this. Is it conceivable that communists could use imperialism to accelerate industry and development globally, contrary to how the fascists use imperialism to stunt development globally via their degrowth? No. No, that was a Trotskyist idea that is profoundly opposed to the philosophy of Marxism, and specifically Marxism-Leninism. But the reason it's impossible is because it's a vanity. The problem with trying to use imperialism to spread your ideology is that it will always necessarily come at the expense of the consolidation of what you're doing at home. You can't do it both. You can't both consolidate socialism at home and try to export it to the rest of the world. You try to export it to the rest of the world, then you're caught up in antagonisms and conflicts with other peoples, in addition to your own, by the way, which is not sustainable for any state in the long run. So that's the real pragmatic problem with it. There's obviously moral problems with it, but even on a materialist, hard materialist, pragmatic perspective, it is not tenable for communism, for socialism. It's a vanity, basically. Agar, thank you so much for being a patron. This is a very long question, so I will read it, and then I will answer it, but I'm not going to read it aloud. I also wanted to thank you for shaking things up to me 8 years ago. We got in an online debate about overly reductive scientific reductionism, and it helped inspire me on a theoretical quest Uh, are you sure it was me? Was this on YouTube or like on a YouTube comment section or that'd be eerie if you knew who I was. Um, can you lay out your critique step by step of 20th century Western Marxism with a specific focus on Lukács and the rest? Okay, I'll sum it up to you because step by step, I'm not sure. I think that's a little too ambitious. But it doesn't need to be that ambitious because it all rests upon Engels' work, The Dialectics of Nature. So there is a tradition that was in the West that was associated with social democracy called Neo-Kantianism. Neo-Kantianism laid special emphasis on developing socially self-responsible and transparent institutions that basically define how a society relates to itself in a self-conscious institutional way. And this was a Kantian paradigm because the institution is kind of realizing the transcendental aesthetic on a society socially wide scale. So it's an institutional paradigm. And the idea is that this institution kind of filters our relationship to the real, which we have to be open and agnostic with regard to. And that meant rejecting the Hegelian parts of Marxism, like Friedrich Engels' Dialectics of Nature, which said that our logic, our specific logos, applies to the development of nature itself, in the real. It's not just some social institution. There's something in material reality antecedent to institutions, okay? And the whole Western left, and Western Marxism in particular, was founded upon a rejection of Friedrich Engels' Dialectics of Nature and a Kantianization of Marxism to turn it into this kind of institutional paradigm that we basically want to socially engineer society. Everything social can be modular. Everything social can be changed. Everything societal, social, historical, and political is changeable. We can't change nature, hard nature, which is outside of us, but the power of consciousness can change everything about us as human beings, besides nature. Okay? So that was the Western Marxism. And it involved an attack on Soviet totalitarianism because the Soviets, for example, insisted that their state was based in something material, not some Habermasian communicative reason between people within some kind of accountable institution, but something hard and material from within the people, right? So the Soviet state's pretensions were far too based in the real than the sensibilities of Western Marxists could afford. Also, I'd be interested in hearing your philosophical critique of... Okay, I'm going to read all this.
Based.
Thank you so much, one man.
Should the WWE be nationalized and be reformed?
Yeah.
Ever since the weirdo nerds took over the fan base, it hasn't been the same since.
Yeah, well, ever since who took over? I didn't fully read that. Yeah, we'll reform it, sure. Critique of gender theory. Okay. So I'll go quick. Deleuze. I'm not familiar with Deleuze's gender theory, so hope it helps. Foucault. Foucault's gender theory. I'm more aware of these people inspired. I am not aware of their. I would imagine Deleuze. I mean, Deleuze was not. See, it's Judith Butler that, to me, seems to draw out the kind of view of gender that it's like this rhizomatic. There's many ultimate, infinitely many genders defined by partial drives and so on and so on. And then Slavoj and Alenka Zupančič. Broadly speaking, my take is probably the same as Zizek's and the Ljubljana schools of psychoanalysis as a whole, including Alenka Zupančič. It's probably the same. The twist has to do with basically, I don't think Slavoj and Alenka Zupančič openly take to the conclusion the implications of their gender theory, which is that basically, upon traversing the fantasy, the solution, Lacan was very ambiguous as far as the solution to this, or the conclusion of this, because he had his kind of la language and the idea of the synthome, and James Joyce and this kind of idea of, similar almost to Deleuze's, rhizomatic, whatever, partial drives, partial objects. Basically, the idea is that instead of the Oedipal structure of subjectivity, people will ground their subjectivity, or their decentered subjectivity, I guess, in some kind of free-flowing associations, similar to what you see in James Joyce's works. Lacan also pays attention to like the kind of partial, I think it's fair to call it partial drives of the obscene enjoyments we have of language. He calls it la language, right? All the kind of accents and arbitrary points of emphasis and specific ways we say things, the way we enjoy these, being the basis of a new subjectivity somewhat. I think that's bullshit though, basically, right? And Slavoj and Alenka talk a lot about the impossibilities of the negativity aspect of like, this is why it's impossible for the sexual relation to exist. But they never pay attention to what comes after traversing the fantasy, which to me is very clearly a return of the signifier. Which is something Lacan was terrified of, by the way. The return of the master signifier. To me, they don't pay enough attention to the fact that the new signifier is inherently masculine. Slavoj openly admits that revolutionary consciousness and revolutions correspond to a new signifier and a new master. But what he can't accept is that is inherently masculine. That means, okay, you've had your fun, women. Now it's the time of men. That's the thing. That's the implication Slavoj is scared to admit. But it's the truth. It's like, it's almost, I want to be tempted to say Andrew Tate is the conclusion of Zizek, if you actually read Zizek's understanding of Lacan. But he just won't admit the positive implications of his own view. Stupidity of a colleague of mine saying Butler doesn't go far enough in terms of gender performativity, saying in her abstract to a presentation, I show that while Judith Butler's work is helpful to understand gender performance as a production of identity, its focus on recognition ultimately undermines the very challenge to gender norms that is at the heart of the non-binary movement. By contrast, Deleuze and Guattari's theory allows it to give a more powerful account of the non-binary genders as a refusal of recognition. I think the problem with that is that in practical terms, these non-binary genders are anything but a refusal of recognition. They're these discrete identities which insist upon recognition, actually, in a way that we're all familiar with. Furthermore, a careful consideration of the interaction of the molar and the molecular, as understood by these authors, enables us to interpret non-binary genders as an attempt to bring to the surface the multiplicity and becoming which the illusion of stable identities typically hides from our view. I disagree. I just will defer to Zizek here, because what this ignores is that this multiplicity and becoming this kind of uncountable, unassailable ambiguity is itself a feature of sexual, not binary sexual difference. It dwells at the core of both masculinity and femininity. It's at the core of those. Masculine and feminine are not stable, arbitrary, formal identities. That's the problem. They're not forms. They're not formal identities. They are forms of, they're not forms, they are responses to the impossibility of formalizing sexual difference. They are the only two responses, actually. Because that is the way material reality is. It is dialectical. And you could say, oh, there's other responses. No. There's only two. Because there's actually only one. That's the funny thing. But because there's only one, there's only two. And if you don't get that, you don't understand dialectics, and I can't help you. Okay? Read Zizek's Antinomies of Sexual Difference. It'll clarify everything. But I just see this as jibber jabber, kind of. You know, what they're saying is, oh, they don't go far enough, and then they're twisting themselves into a pretzel that will never actually lead anywhere. I promise you that. Just a way to get more fucking academic papers, scandalous and intriguing, insightful academic papers that will sell. Color me unimpressed, basically. Thank you so much, Light of the Twin Lamps.
Damn, homie's still awake? You're deteriorating your body too quickly staying awake so late. We need you to live until at least 80 for the revolution.
Thank you so much, Light of the Twin Lamps. Appreciate you, brother. Basically, you can have all the multiplicity and becoming you want, but it will always be grounded by one deadlock. And one, only one. And it's 1 and 0. It will either be feminine or masculine. And it's always feminine. You know what's so funny? For all of the talk of all of these different kinds of genders we get from these academic jibber-jabberers, they never manage to show us a piece of masculinity in these genders. Where is the masculinity? These are all different forms of being effeminate, always. None of them will ever have a trace of masculine codification. They will all always be understood as feminine. They will never embrace anything about masculinity. What about them is masculine? Name one thing that's masculine about these supposedly non-binary genders. So you are either a man or you're something else. But that is why there's only two. Okay? And by the way, no, manhood is not an arbitrarily formal identity. It has a functional dimension, which is what Zizek is scared to admit. Because manhood is about the work that gives rise to the signifier. Manhood is about possession of the signifier, possession of the voice. You will never have the voice if you're not a man. That's not because of patriarchy. You will never have the voice. That's not because of patriarchy, by the way. That is what being a man is just about, having the voice. Everything about masculinity, including our physical bodies, physical strength, is about having the signifier, having the basis of the order, being at the ridge between man and outside of humanity. We are the ones who had to fight lions, motherfucker. We are the ones that had to do that. That's why we have the scepter. That's why we have the phallus. Because we are the fucking ones who have to go beyond the safe confines of any social order and actually reproduce the contingent conditions of its existence in its otherness. We had to fight outside foreign invaders. We had to fight lions. We had to fight fucking monsters and shit. Femininity is inward oriented. Masculinity is outward oriented. Okay? That's not some arbitrary stable identity conceived because of some patriarchal capitalist. No, that is like a very basic dialectic of sexual difference inherent to the human species. And every species, by the way, that is reproduces in a sexual way. From my perspective, what stands the most egregious... Yeah, freedom to understand freedom and necessity in a young perspective. Yeah, you're right. Boogaboo, thanks so much for being a patron. Was the moon landing fake? I have my suspicions. I mean, yeah, if you ask me, I would say yeah, probably. I'll never. Only God knows at the end, but it's like, am I convinced? Is no, I'm not convinced. Eli, thanks for the patron. Does your beard itch? No. Do you consider America to be Eurasian? Thanks so much, Mila. Do I consider America to be Eurasian? Partially. Crass, thanks so much for being a patron. Are you familiar with the Soviet defector, Golitsyn? I am not. That sounds like that Yuri Bezmenov guy. I'm not familiar, no. Say Dong, thanks for being a patron. What do you believe in what do you believe is the future real estate, particularly for the world of commercial property? I don't want to tell you. Nah, I'm just kidding. Lebanon. Believe it or not, they're finding oil. So Lebanon. Thank you so much, American. Appreciate being a patron. How would you define infrareds? Inspiration from Zizek, Lacan, Freud against Logos' critique of them. See, you and Logos' biggest point of disagreement. I think Logos' critique is valid, has validity, but we're just not talking about the same things when we talk about them, is the truth. The things he is talking about are broadly true, but I don't want to have to invoke Lacan. I want to get to a point where it's superfluous. And I think we both agree about that. Also, have you read much Kojev yourself? Yes, I have. Has it had an impact on your intellectual development? He's one of the biggest influences on me that there is. He unites Lacan, Bataille, I mean, Heidegger. It's like, before Heidegger, I was a Kojevian. I knew Kojev before I knew who Heidegger was, okay? I knew who he was, but like, I was a disciple of Kojev before Heidegger. I think French theory, to be clear, French theory, the French school, thank Kojev for that. What do you think about the claim that China is playing its part in manufacturing the fentanyl crisis? It's baseless. It's totally baseless. China is very anti-drug. The U.S. is very pro-drug, trying to legalize marijuana and every fucking drug under the sun. The Open Society Foundation is advocating for drug legalization across the world and in China, okay? So China does its best to crack down on drugs, okay? If it's not doing a good enough job, blame the fucking CIA and the triads for trafficking fentanyl at the expense of what the authorities in China want. Thank you so much, Roxoff. Could you write a critique of Switzerland's direct democracy? I don't know, but I could probably critique Switzerland's existence. And I'm not very convinced that it's deserving of one. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate you for being a patron. What determines right? What is right? Read Kojev's book, Outline on a Phenomenology of Right. The whole book is about that. The right. He calls it the droit. A whole book. He's got a whole book about it. I can't sum it all for you here, especially because I don't actually fully agree with Kojev about it. I think right. I have my own theory of statehood, for which right is a little complicated, to say the least. Natural right, not very convincing to me, but the other side isn't either. I have a dialectical view. I think rights come from the future, basically, not the past. The right to be a part of your fate, your destiny. That's kind of my understanding. Matthias, thanks so much for being patient. A while ago, you said a stream that Nietzsche was just an edgy Aristotle. Can you really elaborate? I refer to the Laroucheite view that all is divided between Plato and Aristotle. Nietzsche, who's a kind of emo goth, sorry, emo, not goth, emo materialist, is definitely like Spinoza and others, and Aristotelian. Nietzsche wants to debase the kind of the ideal and the good, and replace it with this kind of decadent, cyclical notion of being, debased almost, like in the Bataille sense. Close, thanks for being a page. Could you elaborate on the ontological status of Dharma? Oh boy. Probably not. Probably not. Um, oh boy. Give me a second. Okay, that's weird. That is fucking weird. Alright, anyway. Sorry, I was just got a message. No, I probably can't talk about it for world history. I find Dharmaic religions are about a kind of impersonal being rather than about a being uh, that is loaded with kind of personality and morality and so on and so on. I'm not exactly how to explain it. And the significance it's encounter with Abrahamic faiths for world history. Probably Islam is probably close to Dharmaic religion in a way that Judaism was with the Greek philosophy. That's probably all I can give you. Does it have anything on with a feminine fourth hypostasis of sociology? Inclusive principle of chaos. Yes, it does, actually. Yes, it does. This is what the Dharmaic Eastern traditions are exclusively about, actually. The Abrahamic religions within the East are a point of exception within this fabric, and it's really Dharmaic, practical religion in relation to being versus the Greek or Hellenic philosophy based purely in contemplation, is my understanding. Orville, thanks for being a patron. Can you expand on why you think AGI is impossible? I think it's impossible because we don't know anything about consciousness or humanity, really. We can't even replicate a single-celled organism, right, from scratch. How are we going to create humans' mind from scratch, you know? Black Ghost, thanks for being a patron. Where can I begin to learn about the Cultural Revolution and significance? Dong Ping Han, Unknown Cultural Revolution. What is your opinion of Gandhi? Don't like him. Think he's cringe. Closed society. It's great for the great land-based civilizations. What relation does the second encounter with modernity through Western colonialism have with the first encounter? Remembrance, probably. What was lacking in the established post-Mongol empires that necessitated the arrival of modern European world? A subjective registration and articulation of what had happened prior, to put it shortly. Who are the greatest influences on your style of prose? It depends on the context in which I'm writing, but probably Lenin when I'm angry. Orville, thanks for being patron. What is Web3? Like blockchain stuff, you know, the new internet, basically. Pearl, thanks for being a patron. How would you do a modern take on Lovecraft? Good question. Maybe an Indiana Jones style thing? Maybe? A Tomb Raider? I don't know. How would I do it? Let me think. I'd have to think about it, honestly. Probably the 1920s. You know, I would do it about like a Cthulhu cult, definitely, and then you delve deeper and deeper. Thanks so much, Sick.
Gandhi, here let me starve myself real quick. BC, the British aren't starving us enough.
Thank you so much,
Guns.
Sick Mando. I really don't know. I need time to think about that. I wish I could. Jan R, thanks for being a patron. What is it about institutions that lead to decay of thought and practice? Formalism. They formalize and they forget about the content. Can an institution remain solid as an organ of the real movement? As long as it's constantly revolutionizing itself according to its own premises, material premises. Does the institution always eventually deviate from the party? Sometimes it does. But must it always? Maybe not. Unless you mean dialectically in a cyclical way of rebirth and destruction. Institution can never be permanent, right? Cal, thanks for being a patron. What is the significance of labor power as opposed to the abstract and concrete labor? I believe labor power is the capacity to perform labor. Concrete labor is the act of the realization of labor. And abstract labor is, or general labor as it's called, is basically labor converted under the rubric of the standard of the universal commodity form. Basically, labor that is abstracted from all of its particular concrete applications and turned into some kind of general labor for the general commodity of general commodity production. Labor subjected to the same abstract standard of measurement, which is time. Labor time. Janar, thanks for being a patron. What are your thoughts on the phenomena of the pirate thematically versus the later cowboy? The cowboy's better. The pirate is kind of a pervert, to be honest. I'm not really sympathetic with pirates at all. They're more actually I like pirates, but they're fun and they're cool. They're very fun, they're very cool. But who is more virtuous to me, a pirate or a cowboy? Probably a cowboy, right? But pirates are more fun than cowboys. I would rather be a pirate because it's more fun in like a fantasy setting. But cowboys probably better overall. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, we're done. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Debate in show Q. All right, who's in show queue? I'm gonna give this person like 2 seconds. I think I respect Calunas. I've talked to them before and I like them, so I was planning on just yelling at someone and being mean, but I'm not gonna do that, which means I have to go right now. All right, guys, bye bye. See you guys later. Bye bye.